In the cold expanse of the Sol system lies a world shrouded in myth and power, Saturn. Though known today as the stronghold of the Grey Knights and the domain of hidden prisons, its story begins much earlier, long before the Emperor united Terra under the banner of the Imperium. Saturn was not just a gas giant, it was the heart of one of the most formidable factions in the ancient Sol system, the Saturnyne Ordo. And, as with many secrets of the past, much of Saturn's ancient history remains locked beneath layers of time, myth, and power. Pause for a moment and picture Saturn as it was during the Age of Strife, an age where humanity's golden past had fallen into ruin and the vast empire of man had fractured into countless warring factions. The gas giant loomed silently at the edge of the Sol system, its majestic rings glittering in the darkness. But beneath that beauty lay a harsh reality. Saturn's moons had long been home to ancient colonies and military installations, relics of the dark age of technology. These floating fortresses, abandoned or taken over by rogue human enclaves, represented humanity's last stand against the cruel forces that threatened to overwhelm the system. It was here, among the moons of Saturn, that the Saturnyne Ordo rose to power. This shadowy order commanded a fleet of warships that rivaled even the mighty vessels of Mars. The Saturnine fleet, forged in the fires of ancient knowledge and dark technology, patrolled the outer edges of the Sol system. These warriors, isolated and embattled, defended their moons with a ferocity born out of desperation, knowing full well that Saturn was their final sanctuary in a galaxy spiraling into chaos. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, was the crown jewel of the Saturnyne Ordo. Long before it became the stronghold of the Grey Knights, Titan served as a military and technological hub. Vast underground vaults, hidden beneath its icy surface, stored ancient weaponry and knowledge, tools from a bygone era when mankind ruled the stars with impunity. These vaults, though coveted by many, were protected by the Saturnyne warriors who held their ground against all comers, both human and Xenos. Yet the Saturnyne Ordo faced more than just the internal strife of mankind. Saturn's moons were plagued by an ancient enemy, Xenos overlords, mysterious and malevolent entities that had staked their claim on several of Saturn's moons during the Age of Strife. These Xenos, cruel and insidious, enslaved human populations and twisted the remnants of Saturn's once glorious colonies into grotesque parodies of their former selves. Their presence threatened to turn Saturn into a dead world, and for centuries, the Saturnyne fleet fought a losing battle against these alien invaders. As the Age of Strife wore on, Saturn's isolation grew. Terra, engulfed in its own wars, could offer no aid. The rest of the Sol system, too fractured and too embroiled in its conflicts, turned a blind eye. But Saturn endured. The Saturnyne Ordo, cut off from the rest of humanity, adapted to their circumstances, relying on ancient technologies and their indomitable will to survive. Each battle fought above the swirling gas giant became more desperate than the last, and yet the Saturnyne fleet continued to hold the line. Then, in the darkening twilight of the Age of Strife, the winds of fate began to change. From the ashes of Terra's techno-barbarian warlords, the Emperor rose, a figure of myth and power who promised unity, order, and salvation. His armies marched across Terra, and his influence began to spread. Word of his conquests reached the moons of Saturn, and for the first time in centuries, the Saturnyne Ordo saw hope on the horizon. The Emperor, knowing the importance of securing the outer planets of the Sol system, dispatched his forces to Saturn. At their head was Malcador the Sigillite, the Emperor's most trusted advisor and the architect of the coming Imperium. The arrival of Malcador's forces marked the beginning of Saturn's integration into the Imperium. The Saturnyne Ordo, battered and weary but unbroken, saw in the Emperor a chance to restore order to the chaos that had engulfed their world. They pledged their allegiance to the Imperium, and in return, the Emperor granted them the protection they had long sought. Under the Emperor's banner, the Xenos overlords were driven from Saturn's moons, their strongholds shattered, and their twisted works erased from the surface of Titan, Iapetus, and Enceladus. But Saturn's story does not end with its liberation. Even as the moons were reclaimed and the Xenos were expelled, whispers of darker secrets began to surface. Malcador, ever the schemer, saw something on Saturn that few others did, something hidden beneath the surface of the gas giant itself. What ancient knowledge lay buried in the depths of Saturn's atmosphere? What forbidden technologies were housed in the abandoned vaults of Titan? The answers remain lost to time, but what is certain is that Malcador took swift action, quarantining large portions of Saturn's surface and its moons, barring all but the most trusted servants of the Emperor from entering. Over time, Saturn's moons became heavily fortified. Titan, in particular, was transformed into a bastion of the Imperium, its vaults repurposed to house the secrets of the Grey Knights, the most secretive and elite of the Emperor's forces. Saturn itself, its rings now a glittering defense network, became a symbol of the Imperium's unyielding strength. But even now the question remains, what did Malcador discover on Saturn that led him to seal away so much of its surface? Some say that Saturn's rings are more than just celestial debris. Some say they are the remnants of a great catastrophe, an ancient battle that took place long before humanity even set foot on Saturn's moons. Others whisper of hidden prisons beneath the gas giant's clouds, where beings of unimaginable power have been locked away since the dawn of time. As we drift away from Saturn, we are left with more questions than answers. The history of this distant world is as enigmatic as the stars themselves, its past filled with battles fought in the shadow of ancient empires, secrets buried beneath ice and gas. Though the Saturn of today stands as a symbol of imperial might, its true legacy is one of survival, resilience, and the mysteries that still linger beneath its rings. What other forgotten truths lie scattered across the Sol system? What ancient powers, what long-lost civilizations are still waiting to be uncovered in the Emperor's shadow? In the endless void of the galaxy, the past is never truly gone. It waits dormant until it is rediscovered. And when it is, one can only wonder what we will find. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Saturn's ancient history, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on our latest explorations of the forgotten lore of the Warhammer 40k universe. Drop a comment below and let us know what world you'd like to see next in this journey through the stars.